So we're here today talking with Mike Overly. He is a guitar teacher with a profile on FindaGuitarTeacher.com. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dan, for having me.
Absolutely. Maybe you could tell us first about where you're located. What state and what city are you in?
I'm in Dayton, Ohio.
Uh-huh. And are you in a particular neighborhood of Dayton?
Just a local neighborhood.
Understood. And do your students come to you, or do you travel to your students, or is it a little bit of both?
No, the students come to the studio.
Understood. And what's the kind of range of students that you teach? Do you find you teach more younger students or adults, or is it a mixture of both?
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. I have actually a 6-year-old student at the moment, and probably 60 plus or whatever. So it's just an incredibly wide range of
Makes sense.
Both age and ability.
Of course. And what's the guitar teaching climate like there in Dayton, Ohio? Do you find that there's a lot of interest in playing guitar? Do a lot of people want to learn to play?
Well, of course, people want to learn how to play guitar. I would say that that's a multifaceted question, obviously, based upon economics and desire. Those two things collide, as you know.
Yes.
The times being what they are in this 2014 video we got going on, is the economic times is many parents, of course, would like to have their children take music lessons, but can't afford it in these times. So that's sad, and I've noticed that over my career of teaching.
Yes.
So I would say that a lot of it is based upon the parents having jobs, to make it super simple. Professional people, military people, where the money is still for jobs is what enables people to actually take lessons.
Yes. And what do you find the styles of music are that people are most interested in? And just as a follow-up question, what styles do you offer?
All styles. So that's not all styles and levels and abilities and on and on and on. But it's all over the place, from children who don't even know what you're saying. They don't even know what a style is. You know what I mean?
Okay.
To teens who might want to be interested in something more contemporary, boys and girls too, differences of that, and adults who are into, their classical, not classical per se, but, classic rock elements or things that they knew from their past or whatever. Jazz dudes, who want to learn how to play like Joe Pass or whatever it is.
Yeah, sure.
Picking people that want to play like James Taylor. I mean, it's just... It's a preconceivable style and level that you would imagine.
Do you have any favorite styles of your own that you like to teach and that you like to play?
Those are two different questions.
Yes, they are.
The first one is there any favorite style that I like to teach? No. Because that doesn't have anything to do with me in that context.
Okay.
This is student-driven, and whatever it is that you decide that you like, that's what I like.
Yes.
Because in that sense, as we know from teaching, it's just you have musical knowledge, music and guitar knowledge, and then you apply that to whatever it is that you want to do.
Yes.
As for myself personally, of course, jazz and classical is what I gravitate towards, but that's only because of, in a certain sense, the theoretical and technical skills that are necessary to do that, and that's where all the action is, and that's fun stuff. But that doesn't negate that you could, play Metallica or whatever you want to do.
Yes. Sure. And can you tell us a little bit about your approach to teaching? Just in kind of simple terms.
The approach, of course, is a linguistic approach.
Okay.
It is very structured with the premise in mind that music, and of course we'd have to go on and on and on to clarify ideas, as it does. But the simple statement is that music is actually easy because it has an order, like any language has an order. Guitar is extremely difficult, as we all know, if we ever try to play it, because it's based on skill. And skill is a technical issue, and technical issues always take time, whether you're playing golf or whatever you're going to do in a skill level. So the two split out. And the purpose or the function of the lesson is to present in order musical information from the beginning and follow in a sequential order that music does, and temper that flow of information by technical considerations. So it would do you no good to teach, which you could easily, many, many musical theoretical ideas quickly and be understood. That's not the problem, really. But could you play what you know? So what paces the lessons, in fact, is the student's ability to, well, let's use the word, practice and develop a skill to a certain degree that when they come in for the next lesson, they would be ready for the next idea and be able to perform that idea. Otherwise, you're just going to come and get overloaded, is what we know, and then basically you quit because you'd be frustrated and it's no fun and stuff like that.
Understood. Sure. And can you tell us a little bit about how you format your lessons logistically? You know, how often do you work with people? What do you charge? How long are your lessons?
Lessons are a half hour. Some people take hour, but of course half hour once a week is what I'm saying. To tie that together is totally sufficient in a time setting to present you with theoretical idea of music and guitar, so that you could then go home and spend the rest of there's 333 half hours in a week. So if I got one of them, then you got plenty to go home and practice what you've learned and pull it together to whatever degree you can in that amount of time and come back. One of the things, of course, that inhibits that concept, especially with adults, not children. That's a big split on the two, many differences on that two age group thing, is they want to be better. Everybody, the adult kind of, from teen to adult, once they have a vision of the end in mind, and they would like to just start at the end. And of course, that creates some frustration for them. So the idea is to engage someone fully with incremental idea of music in a sequential order, that then they can then be engaged by playing that and not have this concept that I've got to master, which we never use that word, this something before. And a simple example is, like, you could have one day the song Jingle Bells, and then you go, well, guess what? You're going to play this song for the rest of your life. So it's not about mastering it. It's about applying the new ideas that you accumulate over time to the same song, and hopefully you'd be able to perform those new ideas 15 years from now as you still play the same song.
Understood. I notice you have a number of guitars behind you as well as one in your hands. We'd love to hear a little bit about your equipment, and if you could just tell us a little bit about what you like to use.
Well, that's some of the guitars.
Yeah.
I, of course, have played guitar for many decades, and have had many guitars and passed through my hands. But I have a guitars, let's say simply stated, for whatever particular musical expression needs to happen. So you would play a classical guitar if you were playing classical music. You would play an acoustic guitar if you were playing fingerstyle. You'd play a hollow body jazz guitar if you were playing that. So the guitars are relative, really, to perform that particular style of music, let's say, in the actual element that it really needs to happen. Of course, like, let's say a student who only has one guitar, well, that's not going to inhibit you from playing jazz or rock or classical or whatever. You just do whatever you do and whatever you got. They all got 6 strings, and that's all we care about. Sure.
I noticed there's a bass over your left shoulder there. I assume you also offer to teach bass.
Oh, yeah, lots of bass lessons. I'm very, very involved with bass. Bass is a, to bring that up and to parse things out in that manner. The guitar, it has a long history, obviously, of instruction. This is what we're really dealing with here. And the problem with guitar is there are so many, this will kind of take us off in another direction, but the way I see it in my views, there's many false methods on the guitar thing. And many, everybody buys a guitar and gets a book and wants to play, but it tends that the methods kind of fail you is really what it's all about. So you get a whole bunch of guitar books and they're all sitting in the corner, you don't get them, and you kind of quit and you just flip off to tab or something like that. Bass has a totally different origin. Bass and bassists or musicians who play bass are actually parsed out, even though they're fretboards and strings and all that stuff. Bass players, like in that kind of context, they're considered right off the bat as being musicians because the bass is a part of the orchestra. And because the bass is a part of the orchestra, then bass is acknowledged by a flute player or whatever you want to say as being an actual instrument because they see it in the orchestra, and therefore you're a musician just like me and you're playing the bass. And then that spins and falls over into electric bass. And so therefore what I'm saying is the bass is very much more receptive, that's the word, to instruction, because they're used to it and they consider themselves musicians, and we learn music and da-da-da-da-da. The guitar, for many reasons, we won't go into that, is not a part of the orchestra, and therefore actually, in fact, they are not considered musicians, and the guitar is not even considered an instrument in an orchestral sense, and that then creates an isolated feeling, let's call it that. And that those two things are worth thinking about. And why is bass the way it is? And in other words, I have a publishing company, and you know, all my products for guitar and bass and stuff. We sell lots of bass stuff, but on the guitar side, not as much. It's not because the guitar players don't want to. It's just that they're like, let's say, a dog that's been beat so many times they shy away. You know, there's so many books they got in the corner, and they go like, why do we need another one? You know, they don't, you know, and so that if you are here to offer something that is, let's say, in the same realm of musicianship that you would present to a bass player, and they would be totally like, yeah, man, that's a cool book, and let's do it. The guitar player doesn't have that mindset. They're two different things. So,
understood.
Yeah, and that was
sure.
Kind of
Well, no problem. We'd love to hear you play some guitar just to get a sense of what your guitar playing is like.
Well, of course, my guitar playing at this moment would be relative to this guitar I have, which is acoustic guitar. So I would probably play something that would be acoustically driven, let's say.
Sure.
Something that would be more finger style oriented in that way, but as we said, you could make it be like maybe more bluesy, even to illustrate this thing that I'm not going to go get that Strat over there to play some blues into like you know, deluxe reverb or whatever you're going to, all that, but so styles can be created on any particular instrument you want to play. Funk things.
Cool. That's great.
Jazzy chords.
Cool. That's great, Mike. Thank you so much. That's really cool. I just had one last question for you. Do you offer guidance to your students about purchasing their own guitars?
No. Only in the sense that, you know, go to the music store and just put your hands on lots of guitars. And something will attract you, actually, in that sense, you know, especially in the concept of even if they decided, oh, I'm going to go get a Strat or whatever, you know, go put 100 Strats in your hand and you'll find the one you like. Or go get an acoustic guitar and just play lots of guitars, and then one will come to you, you know.
Got it. Understood. Well, listen, it's been great to hear about your teaching and to hear you play guitar a little bit, and we really look forward to having you on Find a Guitar Teacher for many years to come.
Well, I appreciate that, and thanks for having me. And if I could close, you know, I would encourage everyone to go to 12tonemusic.com and you know, get a little bit more of who I am actually in a bio type sense. And one last thing we didn't do, and I am proud of it. It happened last year. I'm a Grammy nominated music educator.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah, really, that was really
great.
Wonderful. You know, stuff like that, and look at the products that we have for guitar and bass, and something could be in there that would help you move.
Fantastic. Sure. Well, Mike, thanks again. and it's been great to hear all about it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dan. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
Okay, bye-bye.